So before we get started with the topic, I want to set the tone for it by telling you a little story. And this actually is attributed to an old Chinese proverb. And it's a story about the little boy and the king who had no clothes. The story goes that there was a king who was very rich, very wealthy, and he loved to wear new clothes every single day. And whatever the most stylish, most elaborate, he loved to wear that. And if he got something he really liked, then he would like to strut down the street, and they would have a parade for him, and he would go through and show all of his people in his kingdom his new clothes. So a couple of shysters, we call them shysters, guys who are crooks, con men, they come up with an idea. They said, you know how much he loves clothes? His greed will make him blind. And he's got so much gold, and we don't, so let's come up with a plan. And they did. They had a great plan. So they let it out that they were weavers, that they weave cloth. This is what they do. And they said that they had a way to make a garment that was beyond belief. It was so amazing. And they were letting this story out to different people. And then they came up to the king himself, got audience with him, and they said, you know what? We are weavers, but not just regular weavers. Now they even set up a big, spinning wheel, everything in a shop to make it look like they knew what they were doing. Then they went to him and they said, we can make you a garment that's so amazing that people will be talking about you forever. He said, really? Yes, because it's made out of the finest gold. And it wears like the most beautiful style and moves with your body exactly. But the biggest thing about it all is that it can do something magic. He said, what is that? Whoever is not fit for their position will not be able to see the fabric. We wouldn't dare wear something like that in the United Nations, would we? Anyhow. So they convinced him. And what they did, they told him, we have to have so much gold on a daily basis to be able to weave it. Well, he sent some people along with the gold, to be sure. And they went through all the motions. They did everything, and they would just be going along, and they'd see him doing something with the gold. All they were doing was just shaving off some stuff and dropping it down, but then they would do all this with their hands, and they looked so convincing. And then they held something up and showed one of them and said, how do you like that? And the guy went, huh? And the other one said, oh, it looks good. Anybody that doesn't, see it, of course, he's not fit for his position. So the other one said, yeah, I never saw anything like that before. And this is how it started. Then they went through the process day after day, doing all this stuff and playing with it and all. And really all they wanted to do was get the gold and go. But the problem was he kept sending these guards down, and there was somebody always around him, and it was kind of hard to get away. So they just kept on going through the whole thing until the king said, I'm ready for my garment. I'm going to have a parade. Bring me my garment. Okay, so they got over there and they stood him up in front of the mirror, and there he is standing there, like before you're ready for Hajj, before you put on the 2 towels. You know what that meant, right? Okay, so you imagine this guy. I'm sorry, it's too funny to think about. And then and how could they be straight-faced, And they walk up with this garment, one holding one side, one holding the other, and they put it over the king. They said, isn't it light? And he said, yeah, it's light. He said, you can hardly feel it all. He said, well, that's true enough. He said, ask them what they think about it. And they all said, wow, amazing. In Arabic you say, ajib, astonishing, lo, and look at the brightness. Oh yeah, very bright. And so he is a big full-length mirror, and he's looking at himself, and he goes, yeah, I can see that. Nobody wants to admit they're not fit for their job, do they? Never. Huh? You see what I'm saying? So here he is like this. Now he's going to go out in his parade. Head held high, mind you, walking right down the middle street. Here we are, boom, 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 and bam, bam, ba, boom, and they're going down, and here he is, and all the people are going, wow, because the word's out. They all know, whoa, the king's new clothes. What do you think? Wow, I never saw anything like that. That's a pretty common expression, by the way, because he didn't see anything at all. I don't see, that's... And he never wore that one before, that's for sure. And everybody's seeing, and thinking, boy, I'm not fit for my job. I'm not fit for my position. Boy, I hope nobody finds out. I don't want to lose my job. Oh, the lovely parade we've got here today. And here's the king walking along, until a little boy, a little guy, innocent, and this is the beauty of Islam, by the way, the innocence of the children. The little boy is looking and he goes, Daddy, Daddy, what? The king has no clothes. Shh, do you want people to think you're not fit for your... The king's got no clothes. The king's got no clothes. Oh my God. And everybody woke up at the same time. They all started laughing and pointing. The king has no clothes. The king has no clothes. But the king, and this is what I really like about a king, he's got his act together. That's okay. I'll keep going anyway. This is, pride, right? Till the end. And then at the end of his parade, he told his guards, you go get those guys and bring them back. Now the story doesn't necessarily tell us what happened to the guards, but we can imagine. But when they caught those guys, I'm sure they gave them something to remember them by. The point of the story is, though, to show us common sense. Because people can tell you stories and elaborate and go on and just keep feeding you with more and more and make it bigger, make it louder, make it more often, more frequent. But the fact is, the king's got no clothes. And that's common sense. And I don't have to be a rocket scientist. I can be a 4-year-old boy and figure out common sense. So this is what we meant when we talked about it, when we say faith, science, and common sense.